when we met, I was a really negative person. And anyone who tried to give me positive spins about anything made me hate them more. Like, oh, you're a cheerful, positive person? I hate you, go away. But I've learned that life is supposed to be happy all the time with pockets of unhappiness, right? And I actually had to use logic to figure that out. Like, you taught me this. You taught me how to use logic to improve my life. So in Eyes Wide Open, Volume 1, you wrote, if I tell folks you're born valuable, destined for wealth, their brain spits many logical reasons why I'm wrong. But if I tell them life's hard and you're destined for poverty, their logic often agrees without judgment. So why do some people find it easier to argue the negative side of their life instead of the positives that could improve their life?
It's mostly because of training. As a kid, we grow up around parents and teachers and peers, and we model them through osmosis. Mm-hmm. If they're walking, we learn to walk. If they're talking, we learn to talk. Mm-hmm. If they're disciplined, we pick up discipline. If they're undisciplined, we pick up lack of discipline. Mm-hmm. And so if we're around people who only use logic to argue for the negative, like someone tries to say something nice and they automatically poo-poo it and put it down and, oh, I don't think it's going to work, and they poke holes in it and they criticize it and all this like negative logic and analytical put downs, then you'll grow up trained on that and you'll do it too. And you'll perpetuate that cycle unless you personally choose to break it. If you wake up and think, you know what, I don't think I'm using logic very well here. I use it to poke holes in everything, but I never use it to boost myself up or give reasons why something might succeed. Until you do that or someone helps you do that, you'll probably just use logical arguments to promote failure.
Okay. So these are just habits that we've picked up.
Mm-hmm. I was like that as a kid. I was super negative and I would use logic to argue negatively for everything. But when someone wanted to make a positive point, all of a sudden my logic disappeared.
Right.
Where's all my awesome logic now? Now I'm silent, sitting in the corner.
Right. Because it didn't go with whatever you were feeling or thinking.
If you have a negative narrative, you're going to use your logic to promote that negative narrative.
Right.
If you have a positive narrative, you could use that logic to promote your positive narrative. Mm-hmm. Logic is a way of thinking. It's not something reserved for negative or reserved for positive.
Right.
And when you have a court case, one side is arguing very logically that the guy did it and he's a terrible man. And you have another side who's arguing very logically with tons of logic that he's a positive dude, a great man, and he didn't do it. Both are employing logic. Both are using logical thinking and making very strong logical cases for the exact opposite side, positive and negative. And then the jury has to decide which logic was most solid, most well-argued, most clear, most sensible, most rational. Maybe they choose right or wrong. I don't know. Now we're relying on the jury's logic and all 12 of them and how their logic goes. But those two lawyers, they're masters at logic. And they're clearly arguing both the positive and the negative. You can too. You could be one of those lawyers. Just step up and argue for the positive. Let me see your logic. Use it for something positive for once.